What's going on, guys? Welcome to Sports Lounge Media and SLM Bets here with John Hamilton. I am your host, and we are going to get into things very quickly today and talk about Week 4 and Week 5 bets and predictions. However, I want to let you know today is sponsored by the Mogul Brown and Diamond Collection. I want you guys to make sure that you guys are subscribing to Sports Lounge Media. And as always, gambling is just for fun. If you are gambling for an addiction, please reach out, get help, and call 1-800-GAMBLERS. You can use the information via Google if you don't know the numbers for that. Again, my name is John Hamilton. Let's just jump into it right now. So what a week that we had in the NFL season for Week 4. A lot of things to digest and take away from this. Some of my key pieces that stood out to me this week are going to be really interesting. So first and foremost, just wrapping up the doubleheader on Monday night's game, we had the Jets versus Miami in Miami with the rivalry jerseys, which looked phenomenal for Miami. A great taste, great flavor for them. They even did the logo in the center field differently in different colors. Love seeing that. It was very well predicted on my end. I did have Miami winning that game, so I did pick the correct money line on that. And then, however, we also had the Denver Broncos with the Cincinnati Bengals. Since Joe Burrow is not a factor in that, that is basically the whole offense being able to move the ball to the correct wide receivers and getting them their routes, working well cohesively in what they've been trained to do with Joe Burrow for a long time. Unfortunate injury with Joe Burrow being out with turf toe for the entire season. That's really going to hinder their record being 2-2 now. So moving into some other pieces away from that, I did have the Denver Broncos money line. Let's see if I can pull up an image here for you guys to kind of see what I had working with. But yeah, it was a very good Monday night for me. I hit a 4-leg parlay, which ended up being really, really beneficial for me. So I think this is the one right here. We're going to put this up like so. So this ended up being my, let's see if I can move it over here. Aha, there we go. All right, so this ended up being my Monday night parlay that I ended up hitting. It was, I think, a total of a plus 438 or something like that. 438, 338. I can't remember, but we definitely made some good money today. I had Breece Hall rushing for 70 yards, and then I had A-Shane running for 60-plus Miami money line, and then the Denver Broncos to be under on the 40.5. I knew that the Bengals haven't been producing since Joe Burrow's been out, and that the Denver Broncos have been scoring. They've been doing pretty well, but I think the Bengals are the only way that they were really going to stay in the game is kind of fight defensively, which ended up being what happened. So I took this screenshot with my friend Ali at the third quarter with less than 3 minutes left in that quarter. It ended up paying and doing really well. I'm very happy with that. So we've just been killing it. I kind of want to go over some stats with you guys. So this is what we look like for the season. So season record, we're 49-14-1. 79.5%, 8 out of 14 parlays hit this season, a plus 6,800 net for the year. I've been killing it. And not everything's going to hit, guys. There's a lot of smaller parlays that I don't count into this. These are just going to be my bigger parlay bets. So anything past a certain threshold of what I bet, I'm not talking about your funny, weird, odd end $2, $5, $10 bets. I'm talking about the bigger bets. So 8 out of the 14 parlays have hit. For my bigger ones, I've been killing it on my parlays this year. I'm really proud of myself. Working with Ali has been really helpful, and some other people that I've been talking to amongst on basically professionals that understand the sport inside and out, that have played the sport like myself inside and out. So we're jumping into that. We've been doing really good. If you guys want to take a look at a free parlay that we have for the week, the free parlay for week 5 is going to be the Giants money line, the Colts money line, the Cardinals money line, and the Chiefs money line. I really, really like that. That's a plus 258. That's a straight up $100 turns into 358.26. So really, really enjoying that bet. That's going to be a free one for you guys. I feel very confident in this. Nothing is guaranteed. That's why they call it gambling or betting. But I just want you guys to make sure that when you bet, you're betting responsibly. Big takeaway. Giants, I think, are going to have a very strong game against their matchup. I think Jackson Dart is very confident in his gameplay. I think a lot of things are transitioning. And then I think his team around him is more rallied to get his back and play harder for him than they did Russell Wilson. This is just what I saw in the game and how I took this week away. Also, Colts money line, great team. They played really well against a very hard team, probably top 5 NFC team in the league. The Rams, and it could have swung either way. I think they kind of blown some coverage in the secondary a little bit, but I think the Colts have a great bounce back game this week. And I think that we see Danny Dimes produce. He's also the #1 quarterback for QBR rating going into week 5. So there's that. Cardinals money line. That was a tough loss for the Cardinals. I actually had the Cardinals to win. However, they didn't win. It could have gone either way right at the end against the Seattle Seahawks. And this is another division game. I think the Cardinals run away with this game. Wait till you see their matchup and what they're going to be planning for the next game ahead. Next is going to be the Chiefs money line. I think Chiefs go into the Jags and they get their job done. I think they expose the Jags. I think that the 49ers had a great opportunity this week to expose the Jaguars, and they fell short. They were having a hard time with turnovers. We had 4 turnovers in the entire game. I am a huge 49er fan, but yeah, 4 turnovers into a single game with also that being that close. To me, it's saying that the 49ers were the better team, but they just played really sloppy. And you have to hold people accountable. I think Brock Purdy didn't have the best game that he could have had. I think that, there was a lot of takeaways, but yeah, ball being turned over 4 times in one game is not going to help anyone. But the game was still close. They still had an opportunity even at the end. They just fell short of what they needed to do. I think the defense looked pretty weak on the rushing and so forth. But anyway, yeah, Cardinals are going to have a massive bounce back. I think the Chiefs are going to expose the Jaguars. I think the Chiefs are really going to show what a Super Bowl contending team looks like. It does look like the Chiefs, with having Xavier Worthy, does make a big difference offensively. I think saying that it doesn't is silly, but that's going to be my compound parlay that's going to be free for you guys to kind of do. I like that one. I'm going to definitely play something on that as well. Let's talk about, let's just kind of talk about something simple, right? So week 4 was interesting. We had the Broncos beating the Bengals. Okay. Seattle Seahawks and Cardinals, any division game, especially in the NFC West, has been notorious. It can swing either way, regardless of record, who's hurt or who's not hurt. Week 1 when the Niners beating the Seattle Seahawks, but then Seattle Seahawks beating the Saints like 40-something to 13 or 16 or something along the lines of that. It's pretty interesting to see what conspires with the NFC West. I still believe they're the most winning division right now in football. With NFC West, you have it's the Niners, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals. So and they're within measurements of each other too right now. So kind of let's see what the chat's saying. Give us a big let's see. Let me put this up here. I got you. Here we go. All right. It says give us a big parlay leg. I'm going to actually do one on Wednesday. It'll be on TikTok and Sports Lounge Media. We'll absolutely be able to post that on their socials. I highly, highly recommend that you guys follow Sports Lounge Media on all platforms, whether that be X, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and definitely follow me at Jonathan Hamilton or Jonathan Hamilton SM Bets. I'm going to be posting a ton of coverage this week. It's going to be interesting. I had a little bit of a personal matter this weekend, still getting over that, but yeah, it's going to be a really fun week. This week, by the way, and I want you guys to kind of emphasize something. This week going into it is our first bye week that we have coming into week 5. That tells a lot of things, where teams are staying with injuries, where they're staying with their standings, what to expect for the next 5 weeks. This is a lot of big tells. This is where a lot of bettors know their knowledge, and they're seeing a lot of their analytics being written down on paper, and they're becoming more fine point, meaning that we're going to be able to bet and our odds are just going to get better and better. Typically, the first 4 to 5 weeks are always the hardest week. 3 and 4 is definitely the hardest weeks to jump into because 3 and 4, they're going against hard matchups. There's going to be big upsets. Week 5, this is going to be for the dogs. Week 5 is for the dogs. So if you're a puppy, stay on the porch, because I don't want you putting your money where you can't afford to lose it. But if it hits this week, it is going to be big. We have some big things coming up with our parlays, especially for, I think we have, 4 teams? I'm pretty sure we have 4 teams on a bye. So 12 legs is going to be the biggest legs, I'm pretty certain, which means that your payout is going to be lower, but it's going to be more favorable based off of matchups. There's one that I have that I can see the Browns taking this week. That might be the upset game of the week. They have a phenomenal defense, and I think if they're having a few adjustments, whether it be head coach, offensive coordinator, or maybe even some key pieces offensively, they're a contending team for the playoffs. And I think for people saying that they're not is absurd. They play well even against the Lions, even with that blowout. I thought there were some great takeaways with that. Steelers beating the Vikings. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers had a few Guinnesses before the game. Whatever. Aaron Rodgers still performed phenomenal. He threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half. That's insane. Bo Nix, great quarterback, played today, 3 touchdowns, one of them rushing for 350 plus yards. And you have a lot of people that you can bet on, right? So I'm gonna show you a bet, and this is gonna be from earlier in the season, but I want you guys to see something. This is kind of what I dive into, right? So I'm gonna show you this. Let's see if it'll upload the whole thing. Yeah, okay. It's gonna be hard to see. Let me see if I can take this one away, and then this will be. Let me see if I can switch it. Let's do it this way. No. Yes. Okay, that's gonna probably be the best. It's gonna be hard, but we hit on 9 legs, and 9 legs is a very big big leg. That's plus 1997. So if you bet $100, you're coming out with some serious money, and that's not an easy feat to hit 9 legs, especially on week 1. Not easy. A lot of these teams are doing really well for me, very strong. Obviously, some big takeaways that the Commanders don't have Jaden Daniels. He may be coming back week 5. You don't have Joe Burrow, so very unsure to be betting on the Bengals, right? There's a lot of things to kind of take away with that. The Saints are horrible. I would not be betting on the Saints, even if it was against the Panthers. Pittsburgh Steelers, doing really good. That was kind of a cool, interesting game. If you guys are able to watch some of the recaps with that, I did bet on the Jags at home. Denver Broncos, I thought they were going to be much stronger this year. And then obviously some other small takeaways, but jumping into some other parlays that we have hit this year. And I mean, we've been killing it this year. This year has been great. Last year was a slow start, but this year has just been doing phenomenal for me. I'm very, very happy with how things transpired. Let's see. We're going to remove this one. Yeah, so this is a big one, right? So plus 732. So the Falcons beating the Vikings, which a lot of people had the Vikings. I had the Falcons in this. Also, the Buccaneers versus the Texans. The Buccaneers barely squeaked by, but I thought the Texans offensively looked really weak, especially in the O-line. And then obviously the Chargers. The Chargers was a easy one for me. So there's a few upsets. You guys can see the plus 150, plus 114, and the minus 180. And you're like, how does this conspire to equate to plus 732, right? Well, it's compounded. So not only is this the plus right here in the top 2, but then you have the minus 180, and this is also going to start multiplying. So you're multiplying it by 3x. So it comes out to that plus 732. And typically it's multiplied by a 1.25 rating on any leg, and then it just compounds over there, very much like money that you invest in the stock market. So we did hit this. I did cash out a little early on the Chargers game. I did see a potential comeback, but I still cashed out and we hit big on this. So I was very, very happy to have this. That is still a win, by the way. If you're cashing out and it's a positive from what you bet, that is still a win. I cashed out substantially more than what I put in. So I'm very, very happy with that. I think it was like $80 short of what the total payout was. I think I just cashed out early because I don't want to watch the game anymore or something along the lines of that. But yeah, we had some really, really strong weeks so far. Some really big upsets, though. One that I had talked about was the Giants that could have beat the San Diego Chargers, but I was still bet on the Chargers to win, obviously, because that you always go with the safe guess, right? You never bet on a long shot unless you just have money to waste, because that's just not smart betting. The Giants beating the Chargers, huge upset, but I don't think that means that the Chargers are a horrible team. I think that there's some stuff defensively they need to work on. They definitely need to be able to stop the rush game, and they need to they really need to drop down their cover 2 coverage about 10 yards. Being open 15 to 25 yards in the secondary is not okay. I would be extremely mad if I was a defensive coordinator working with that team. You got to stay more locked in closer. I mean, Jackson Dart is notorious. If you watch his highlight reels in college, he just throws short little 5-10 yard routes, and that's typically what he makes away with it. Also, they won without Malik Neighbors. That's a huge takeaway too. So this just shows how well Jackson Dart is going to do with the weapons that he has on the team, and he 100% saved that head coach's job. 100%. Another big game that I kind of saw that I really, really liked was the Green Bay Dallas game. I thought that was a really big takeaway too. Green Bay and Dallas ended up in a tie. There hasn't been a tie for 2 years, which is kind of an interesting little fact. And if you bet on a tie that happened this year, which I did, and I also hit that parlay, or not a parlay, but money line bet for the year, it was a plus 1,200. So I bet very little amount of money, because obviously it's probably not going to hit, but I was really happy that I did hit, and I did get some winnings out of that. But yeah, they ended up in a tie. A lot to kind of take away from having it be ended up in a tie. So great offensive game. It was a 5-quarter game, a full 5-quarter game, which means that there's certain statistics that fall under certain guidelines that you have. Your offense and defense still gets certain amount of points and on your analytics for where you're placing, even if you go into a high scoring point game, because it's 5 quarters. So you take your 40 points defensively and divide that by 5 instead of 4. So that brings down your average a little bit. That being said, yes, defensively, they need to work on some stuff. I think there was some sloppy play here and there, but Dak Prescott still looks pretty good as a QBR regular season quarterback. And then, yeah, Love looks good. He definitely has a favorite wide receiver. So if you have him in, obviously, in your fantasy, which you guys will definitely want to go over and watch Marshall. Marshall talks about fantasy. I'm sure that's going to be a big takeaway for Romeo Dobbs. But yeah, it was a fun game to watch. Nail biter for sure. I hedged the game because I was worried about my winnings, and luckily I came out even on that one, which is okay. Which we can talk about how to hedge, sometime else. But yeah, this week was just wild. The Saints can't figure it out. Titans can't figure it out. There's a lot of teams that can't figure it out. 2 best teams, hands down, are going to be the Eagles and the Bills. The Eagles and the Bills are just if the Eagles and Bills, or the Bills and Lions, those 3 teams, in my opinion, if those 3 teams, none of them make it to the Super Bowl, my predictions are so far off. I think the Eagles have a strong chance of getting to the Super Bowl again. Now, this being said, there's a lot of things I personally think about the Eagles. I want to just put this up as well. This is a fun little bet that I also hit here. Falcons and Bijan Robinson. So you can compound this with your betting, by the way. So that was a nice win. The other thing too I want to talk about is that was a weird comment. One thing I want to talk about. Yes, to me, the Eagles have a very, very boring offense to watch. But to counter that, they have a very interesting defense and a very fun special teams to watch. It does not matter how you win games. At the end of the day, if you win a game, it is still a win. You're not going to look back and be like, oh, Joe Burrow lost that game, but he threw for 7,550 yards and ran 22 touchdowns. Sure, something that extravagant or exaggerated would get talked about. Sure. but it's still a loss. And at the end of the day, the Eagles are putting themselves in a position to win. They're not doing anything cheating. They are still drawing some weird penalties, which they really need to tighten up. And they're not even doing it with all their key pieces. So, yes, the frustration from A.J. Brown with the 2 receptions or 7 yards or whatever it was, I'd be frustrated too. But his mindset needs to understand that it is a team game, not a single player game. You're doing the benefit of what you're asked to do. And I agree with them. Yes, the offense is very boring to watch. I get more excited when they play defense and they are able to score points defensively too. So Chiefs are phenomenal. Bills, on the other hand, I would find it quite the opposite. I find it very boring defensively to watch. I just get irritated with how much run coverage they just let go. And then their offense is phenomenal. Josh Allen is so much fun to watch. And yes, you're there to watch your quarterback play, throw the ball, run, do all this stuff. But I get excited when I watch Josh Allen. I think it's great. Saquon, obviously, as expected from what I had said in the beginning of the season, that I did not think he's going to have the same type of year that he did last year. I think a lot of teams are just really watching tape on him, not only to make sure they can shut him down, but maybe mimic what he did, how Philadelphia exposed the defenses, and how he was able to be shifty along the D-line to get through and break through on those big yard runs that he had all of last year, which, by the way, A-Chain had a huge breakaway game, not once, twice, but 3 times in this game that he played against the Jets. So either bad on the Jets or good on A-Chain. So yeah, that was pretty fun. I do think that the Eagles are probably going to make it the Super Bowl. I think the Lions are going to be a big contender. I think Green Bay will be a big contender. I do have certain bets in for that, which I will start putting up this week on TikTok. So I want you guys to follow. Another one that was pretty fun that I had put on a bet was this one right here. So you guys can just do straight up money lines. You guys don't have to actually do compound parlays, but you should always pick money lines that have good value. So anything with 190 minus 190 or better, meaning like 180, 170, 160 minus all the way up to the positives. That's a good value. This also means that Vegas favored them to win, which they ended up winning. Okay. And that it's still a decent payout, right? Because it's a divisional game. Divisional games, if you notice within Vegas, when the betting, regardless of their record, they typically favor the home team, even if they have a bad record going up against a winning rival, because division games are very, very hard played. They play each other very often. They actually practice with each other often in the offseason sometimes, depending on what teams. And they know their playbooks pretty well. They know the players. They're all relative. They play against the colleges with each other, or they played on the same colleges. So they know the capabilities and the talents that they have on the team. I think that minus 135 was a little too giving, which is why I bet on this money line. And I also had on the under 32.5, which is how I won this. So bet on the under 32.5. I didn't think Raiders produced a lot. This is also the game that they threw 3 picks. Geno Smith has not been playing well. And I did place a $20 bet for him to have a huge payout for me by having the most interceptions in a season. So he will lead interceptions in the season if he continues on this track, and it will be a nice payout. There's fun little future prop bets that you guys can bet on that are like that. And I kind of want to go over. Let me see if I can go over this week really quick. Let me jump on here. Sorry, guys. Should have this ready, but NFL, let's see here. NFL games, week 5. So this is who I'm going to talk about, what I like, okay? If you guys can hear me, I just want to make sure that you guys can hear and see me, which is perfect. Okay, so this is who I like. This doesn't necessarily mean who I'm going to bet on, but this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to take the Rams against the 49ers. I think the 49ers are still waiting for some key pieces to get back. If Kittle does get in this game, I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I think the Rams definitely take this win. I think they move up to the first seed in the NFC West. I think the Cowboys went against the Jets. The Jets are just – Justin Fields did look pretty good, but the Cowboys need a win. They can't get a tie. They're going to be 2-2-1. Colts are going to take the Raiders. I don't think this is going to be close. I think Danny Dimes is producing a lot of offensive yards in passing game, and I don't think the Raiders are going to be able to keep up. The Eagles are going to beat the Broncos. However, this is going to be a very close scoring game. Eagles secondary doesn't look as strong as it normally does, and I think that the Broncos have a good quarterback and good wide receiver weapons. Cardinals and Titans. Cardinals are going to obliterate the Titans. I don't see how this could be an upset game. I think they really stepped up. Trey Benson did a great job with the running back position, filling in for Connor, and I think that's going to continue into week 5. Lions and Bengals. The Lions are going to mollywop the Bengals. I don't see, unless Joe Burrow himself comes back, the Lions are winning this game. Bills and Patriots. We're going to actually go back to that because that's going to be my game to watch that I want you guys to pay attention to. The Vikings and the Browns. I think the Browns are going to win this game. Am I going to bet on it? I don't know yet. But the Vikings and the Browns win this game. Their defense is too good. If they can just put up some offense, I think they take the Vikings down. Yes, Jordan Addison is back, and yes, they have Jay Jettas, but I'm not sure yet. Giants will sweep the Saints. I think Jackson Dart and Cam Scadaboo they're just doing great work, and I like what they're producing. The Dolphins and Panthers. This is an interesting game. I think that we're seeing a shift change with the Dolphins, and I think the Dolphins kind of step up and they get the job done against the Panthers, which is reverse from what I said this season. It is completely reversed from what I said this season. But yeah, I definitely think that the Dolphins are going to take the Panthers. I could be wrong. Ravens and Texans. Now, this is interesting. I don't know if Lamar Jackson is playing or not. He obviously is frustrated. Do I think he got hurt? No, I think he got frustrated and left the game. However, I'm not going to speak on his behalf. This is just me speculating. I think the Texans also won a game and Ravens lost a game. So you have Texans where they need to win games to start getting this division. You have the Ravens where they also need to start winning games to get to this division. By the way, the AFC North looks horrendous. If the Steelers take this division, I would have never guessed that in a million years. I thought the Ravens would have blown this out of the water. They had 2 games where they should have won, that they had some drops, but it is what it is. If Derrick Henry performs his normal self, Zay Flowers gets some touches and Lamar's in, I have the Ravens winning. If Lamar's not in, I have the Texans winning this. The Bucs and Seahawks, this is going to be a tight game. This is in Seattle, but I think Buccaneers have the offensive personnel, and their defense looks pretty good, if I'm not going to lie to you. The second half of the Eagles game was better than the first half when they had played. I think that the Bucs kind of take this against the Seahawks. It's going to be close. It'll be within 4 points. Chargers, Commanders, bounce back game, 100% against Commanders. I don't care if Jaden Daniels is playing. Chargers are going to learn and figure out what they need to do, especially at home. Chiefs and Jaguars. Jaguars are going to get exposed. They're not a 3-1 team, in my opinion. I think they're more of a 2-2 team. I think that the Niners should have won. However, Niners lost themselves. 4 turnovers, horrible. The Chiefs are going to expose why they're also not only getting on a bounce back game against a great team, but the Chiefs are a Super Bowl winning team. They have a lot of their pieces still. Xavier Worthy's back. Andy Reid's a great coach. Jaguars should easily lose this game. That's kind of my takeaways on this. So again, we're going to recap: Rams over Niners, Cowboys over Jets, Colts over Raiders, Eagles over Broncos, Cardinals over Titans, Lions over Bengals, Chiefs over Jaguars, Chargers over Commanders, Bucks over Seahawks, Ravens over Texans, Dolphins over Panthers, Giants over Saints, and the Browns over the Vikings. Now, I want to talk about the big game, right? Let's talk about the big game. And to me, the big game is going to be the Bills and the Patriots. Bills and Patriots is going to be an interesting money line. I'm 99% sure that Bills are favored in this, by the way. I'm not surprised. But I'm going to tell you something. There's a guy named Drake May, okay? And Drake May is playing really good in the quarterback position. I believe in what he's capable of doing. He has a great center that's guarding him. It is a division game. Remember how we just talked about division games? I think that this could be the upset along with the Browns, if you want to consider the Browns an upset. But I think that I'm pretty confident that the Patriots are going to put up a very strong game against the Bills, and this could be one of the very, very few losses the Bills have. But we shall see. I do have the Bills in this one. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, those are kind of be my picks that I would recommend. not necessarily betting on all of these, but if you guys want to know my picks, this is where I'm going with. I'm going to dive more into my picks a little bit later in the week. We're going to also follow up more on TikTok, and I want you guys to follow me there because it's going to be a great way to access me personally. If you have questions on a live, or if you guys want to get a hold of me. Also, please follow sportsloungemedia.com. Sportsloungemedia.com is a great place to go and see all the other shows and find out where you guys can get all your information. We're going to throw up this right here. Yep, it's going to be down below, guys. If you guys want to follow, we're also going to be having a subscription service here very, very soon. It's a very, very fun way to kind of look at, I'm just looking at some of these really quick. It's going to be a fun way to look and find out my personal parlays that I put in. I don't give you guys my personal parlays because that's my information, and information is not free, right? I do a lot of history diving, knowledge-based diving. I really, really pay attention to what I'm putting out there for you guys. So again, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. My name is Jonathan Hamilton, and I'm with SLM Bets. Thank you guys so much for paying attention, following us, and make sure you guys subscribe for more. Remember, if you're gambling and you have an addiction, please call 800-GAMBLERS. You can also reach out to help on Google, and they will guide you through what you need to do. It is totally okay to get help, and I'm here to just navigate you in the best way to try to get some wins and some cash in your pocket. Again, this is the best place for your sweats and bets. I want you guys to know. Again, thank you so much for following, tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.